Hey, everybody. We are back with another Black History chat. We have committed every Friday of this month to doing something on Black history, providing information, giving insight into our rich and amazing history. So, we're just going to do a continuation from last week. We ended, if you tuned in with us, we ended on saying we were going to start talking about the history behind Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is, if you didn't know, the Negro National Black Anthem, where if we were in person and you heard it playing, you would stand up, man, you would take off your hats, and we would treat it just like the regular national anthem. So we're going to give some history on that. And we have another guest on tonight, an amazing historian of Black history. She is going to be able to talk with us about Black history in academia. We know there's a lot of things going on that are trying to shut Black history out. So just giving that insight. We hope to have one more guest on. Hopefully you can get on. We know technology and certain age groups and generations don't always work together, but if he gets on, we'll add him on. If not, we'll just hope he's here and hope he's there in spirit. So I am going to introduce everybody again. I will start with our newest guest. We have Dr. Amina Pilgrim. Please say hi to everybody and let us know about who you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Harambe, for inviting me. This is my first live ever, so I'm blessed to celebrate that with you all. Happy Black History Month to everyone that's watching. I am a university lecturer. I am affiliated with UMass Boston. I also teach a course two at Berklee College of Music and some other places, including Harambe, where we have a free Black history course, usually taught in the summer. I am a mom. I am very passionate about family and community, and that includes these beautiful sisters on the screen. So I'm excited to be here, and I can't wait to hear our discussion and to share. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Just going right around the screen. Next is my mom, Jacqueline Jones. For those of you who weren't tuned in last week, Mom, just let everyone know who you are, why you're passionate about Black history, and then we'll move on to our last guest and then jump right into the conversation. You're on mute, Mommy. I'll unmute you.
I would probably describe myself as a passionary. That is someone that is passionate, but similar to way a missionary sometimes goes into uncharted territory, having to trust God that the parachute's going to open. So I am passionate about our history because it's all that we have. Right. And that is where we can build our future on. We do not know our correct names. We do not know all of our tribes. I mean, there's so many things that we don't know about our history. So holding on to it gives us that step closer to claiming our future, creating our legacy. So I'm very passionate about Black history. And I feel fortunate and blessed that as a family, we were raised with it. Things that probably other people took for granted. We knew Lift Every Voice and Sing. We sang it regularly in church and as part of programs in and around Brockton. And then I feel that later, while I came to Massachusetts Community College, I was blessed to meet Sister Amina and just meet someone else that sort of shared that passion for our history, also empowering women and just kind of claiming our voices in community and creating community and knowing that forging ahead, that's sometimes a challenge, but it's worth it.
Absolutely. I love that. A passionary. Come on, you should trademark that. That's it.
I think somebody did, but
oh, well, okay, that's all right. We heard it here first. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Aren't they trying to erase history? So we're just doing what they're doing, right? We're just learning from them, right? And then the last one that we have, just to reintroduce herself, because last week she was on, is my aunt, Gwen Knowles. We call her Auntie Cookie, so I might, interchange between both of those names, but please let us know who you are. And I forgot to mention that my mom and aunt are the co-founders of Harambe Learning and Culture Center. It was birthed out of a pandemic when, Black history was trying to be silenced, and we refused to let that happen. So please let the people know who you are, Auntie.
Hi, as Stephanie said, my name is Gwen Knowles. And the passion and just the almost like pushing need to be able to have our history told at all, in any opportunity. It just seems like it's a natural for me that, when things come up. I had the opportunity today at school to be able, one of the history teachers invited me to his class to talk about HBCUs. There was an some of the students were wondering because they're learning, it's a civil rights class, so just learning about some things. And so he asked me, he goes, well, I know someone. He thought I had went, but he just knew that I, would be able to expound on it and give them some information. And because it is, if you don't put your passion into action, it's just passion. So it is. I am thankful and almost again feel that is my duty to put my passion into action around Black history and to go, the highways and the byways talking about it whenever I have the opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much passion, just on this chat right now. And so that's what we're going to just be talking about. So we're just going to dive into that history behind Lift Every Voice and Sing, why it was created, who created it, and what it really means to us. Anybody can grab it. Not sure who wants to go first, but go ahead and let the people know who don't know. And as I said last week, sometimes we say that young people don't know the history, but now we're seeing that it's everybody, every generation, every age group. So for those who don't know, we just want to give some insight into our own Black National Anthem.
Well, sure. I don't mind going and then just having my sisters jump in. But James Weldon Johnson, so he wrote Lift Every Voice and Sing as a poem in the late 1800s, like around 1899. And he wrote it as a poem initially. And then he had his brother Rosamond in 1900 put the poem to music. And it was first heard as a song at a school in Florida that James Weldon Johnson was the principal at. And 500 Black children sang the song. It was a celebration that was going on for Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Anyone else? That's
amazing. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, I just want to say that Rosamond and James Weldon kind of remind me of me and my sister, right? Because they're looking at this sort of as had to be birth. And later after that sort of public showing, they were actually able to get it declared the Black National Anthem, because it didn't have that title yet. It was a song and a celebration. It had the passion and sort of the idea of we are going to triumph even beyond our struggles, which is kind of the theme. But it was with the NAACP, and Cookie, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 1907? Whatever.
No, it was almost 20 years later. It was 1919.
1919 at a NAACP event when the NAACP asked to adopt it as the Black National Anthem. And probably the same way that those words speak to us now, it spoke to whoever heard that and said, we stand, we salute a flag under which many are buried and missing, right? We stand for a song that didn't include us, right? And here we have these words that so passionately remind us of the struggle, triumph, and two things that kept us as a people: being strong, faith in God, and remembering our connection to our heritage. So I think that gave that song that sort of the wind beneath the wings type of effect. And so it's just interesting that it was two brothers that came together with their both love of our people and their skills and gifts that made room for them. And so I just think it's almost a historical little footnote that we can connect ourselves by looking at Harambe and Harambe's purpose, because it does have a purpose, and the purpose is bigger than both of us. Really birthed out. I mean, my sister, she'll tell the story. I wasn't really thinking. Then Jackie gets up there and announce, we're going to be doing Black History classes. She said, okay, we're going to be doing Black History classes, right? But it just was birthed out of the need and the passion. And it's not by accident that we're both in education, that we tend to flow with people that are in education. So we know Amina, we love being with Soraya. Like, so there's people that are in education, passionate, and also committed to themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people say, you know, you guys, you're very, very assertive, which we know that's given praise in men, right? That's
Right.
seen as something. And then also, you know, I look at Caucasian women, like, you know, Bella Abzug or Gloria Steinem, you know, when women speak up that are Caucasian, it's still given some credence. So I'm just saying that we have found, I believe, a community to create community. And that's what we're looking for Harambe to be.
Awesome. Awesome. Amina, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I was thinking about what Jackie said, that like James and Rosamond, you and Gwen, being siblings, have birthed this project, this movement out of Brockton. But I was wondering which one of you would be the one to put the message to song.
Probably Gwen.
Yeah.
Because she sings. Now I could maybe twist a few little lyrics out there, but I do not sing, which is just ironic because I love singing. I love hearing it. And every now and then somebody will passionately move me, but it is only, I cannot hold a note except in my hand. So.
Well, on that note, I was actually reflecting on the lyrics of Lift Every Voice and Sing. I don't know how much y'all got into those, but I know that for me growing up, I could never really get behind singing the mainstream national anthem. And I got in trouble as a kid because they would be looking at me in private school saying, aren't you going to stand up? And I had a visceral response because I felt, one, I was experiencing racism in school, and it was a religious school. So I felt that was so hypocritical. And two, my parents were teaching us Black history at home. And I felt that there were so many things in the words of the mainstream national anthem that didn't seem to resonate with historical incidents. So as a young person, I was already questioning that. But the moment I was introduced to Lift Every Voice and Sing, I remember feeling chills, feeling like, oh, okay, this speaks to me. And it was almost a confirmation that I had a different song to sing and I could sing that. So, I think about the current moment that we're in. The other topic that we're going to get into, which is the backlash against the teaching of our history right now. And one of the lyrics of the song says, we have come over a way that with tears has been watered. And it's so powerful because as you both spoke about the mission and the purpose of Harambe, which I love and I support, and I'm proud to be associated with, that mission speaks to that very line. We've come a long way, and we've come a way that has been bought and paid for. Like James Baldwin said, our ancestors paid for our crowns, and we just have to put them on and we have to wear them. But so many people don't know about those crowns. And so there's a sense of urgency that I think we all share here in this chat to uphold that history, to let our young people know the crowns that they have, and also to make sure that people don't forget everything that has been done to get us to where we're at right now. But yeah, I love that we're talking about this anthem, and it's so important for more people to know that it exists. And that is tied to our legacy as a people.
I just noticed that our good friend Chipper Rucker is in this chat,
Yes.
and he
Mhm.
wrote about how we sang this song growing up in Messiah Baptist Church. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we were fortunate. We were doubly blessed through church and through home, through my parents who raised in the segregated South, as was Chip's parents. It, in many ways, it made them more resilient. And that's why their kids came out a little more resilient
Right.
too. I think,
Mhm.
out of born struggle, pain, and that sort of the otherism. And I mean, even with your parents, that whole concept, the otherism, right? Sometimes what
Mm-hmm.
that does for us, we claim stuff very early, we
Mm-hmm.
claim identity, and it's a little tough. My sister has recounted, she's been in a documentary talking about how the pain of us with growing up in the neighborhood that rejected us,
Mm-hmm.
an all white neighborhood. So this song is special, and thank you, Chip, for the reminder.
Yes. I think it's beautiful because we kind of lost some of that culture, right? So you got it like a double whammy. You got it in church, you
Well,
got it at
almost a
home.
triple, because in the radio, remember on the radio too,
They played it on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
WILD being the black radio station, it was on
Mm-hmm.
from sun up to sundown. And when it would go off the air, and any young people on there, I'm sure you're not understanding what I'm saying.
They
The
don't know.
radio, there was radios that went off, especially the black radio stations. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't have the frequency to stay on, and it would go off to lift every voice and sing. Like that was a standard. Like you just heard it every time the radio station went off, and then at some point it wasn't anymore. And I used to
Right.
always wonder, why did they stop doing that again? This is part of our history,
Mm-hmm.
part of our legacy. And when you were just talking to me, about the part about the tears that have been watered, and something just
Mm-hmm.
made me think that I can imagine putting the words to music, even writing the words. I'm sure Rosamond and James had some tears,
We're weeping.
Mm-hmm.
Had to
weeping,
be.
weeping,
Yeah,
Had to
definitely.
be.
Looking those words, I mean, it is a love song
it
to
is.
me.
To
It is a
us.
it
Yeah.
is a it is a love song. It is a song that is telling us, even in spite of, to keep on going, to
That's right.
do that proverbial push.
Mm-hmm.
You can see through their words and the music, the love, much like we're feeling the love for our people. There
Mm-hmm.
is a love that they've had for people, and not knowing that this was a legacy. They were
Mm-hmm.
legacy carriers when they were writing this song, and didn't even know it.
They didn't know, and they didn't even know how far this was gonna go. Like when they wrote it, I mean, they couldn't have how far this would go and how we'd keep, talking about it. I am gonna post a comment. This is one of my podcasting brothers. We're gonna be working together on some advocacy things and really letting things out. He's saying, this is Brother Ken. He's saying he just asked 4 Black brothers, did they know Lift Every Voice and Sing, or even know of it, and they didn't. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the onus falls on everybody, right? On the older generations for not teaching it and on the younger generations for discarding history. You know what I mean? So now it's time to really bridge this gap. I would love to see this anthem come back, in full force.
Yeah.
And really, Amina, when you brought up the lyrics, I'm like, I want to do like a study. This is my
Yeah.
therapist psychology brain. Like, I want to do a word study, breaking down every line. What does that
Mm-hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
the emotions that it evokes. I mean, my gosh, I'm reading. I just pulled up the lyrics, Stony the road we trod. I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
God, bitter
Yeah.
the chastening rod. Who would you say? You know what? Huh?
Yeah.
This is from back in the day. And when you sing it, like, you can't help but to get emotional because you feel your ancestors.
You
You
feel
see
it.
them
Yeah.
going on the stony road. You feel them getting hit, and you feel like, and then at the end, I mean, to me, I remember the first time I heard it, it sounded, and I'm going to use this word, it sounded depressive, right? I think because the song, the music, the tunes, but the more you listen to it, I'm like, this is, like Auntie Cookie said, this is a love song, and it ends with a word of hope and determination. Like, no, the music might be kind of slow, and the words, when you go over the whole history, yeah, we've watered we've used a lot of tears to water, but at the end, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. We have God to depend on and ourselves to really, kind of fall into. So I'm gonna do, I don't know, I want to do like a word study,
Yeah.
a stanza by stanza going into that. And I love that we didn't talk about that last week. This was our chance to
Okay.
kind of open that up. So thank you for bringing it up. That was really awesome.
Well, I wanted to chime in also on the idea that that perhaps they didn't know how the song would be used, or the moment, but I want to push us back on that perhaps they did know. I mean, James Weldon Johnson was a writer and a civil rights activist, so I think that it's powerful to consider that he probably did reflect on the moment that he was in, or the changes that were happening in society at that time. And with his insight, with his background and with his personal power, took it upon himself to document that in this poem. And the reason why I say that is because I always stress to my students that our ancestors were history makers. They were intentional. They had agency, and it's worth stressing that, because they don't get that picture in mainstream social studies classes or history classes, especially if the teachers don't look like us, right? They kind of they can reinforce the idea that history happened to us rather than we created history. We made this country what it is. So I like to emphasize that, because it's a powerful reframing. And it also, for me, my intention in doing that is to get young people to think about, what will you do with this moment that you're in? What will you do to lift your voice and sing, or to see that our ancestors left behind? So I just want to share that, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. It sounds amazing. And even just the title, Lifting Every Voice and Sing, that calls us together as community, to come together. So I love that. And when you mention your students, I think that's a great time for us to segue on into talking about Black history and academia. You have direct insight. You're right there in the battlefield. And then combating that, with CRT and things like that. I mean, what is the current state of Black history in academia? We know that students, oh, Amina, okay, Amina might be coming back, but we'll just keep going. I mean, the question would really be, how many students are choosing to learn about Black history, because it is a class that you select, and, you do that. In high school, you select it too, but when you select it in college, you're willing to prepare and get up and, like really take the time to do that. Hopefully Amina comes back, but that's what I'll be asking her. But if anybody else wants to chime in just on the state of Black history in academia, and kind of what we're seeing combating against what society is giving us to.
Yeah, I think Gwen, if you don't mind, just talk about it's somewhat related, but you mentioned about the Wellesley incident, the affinity, which is still a version. It's like, a cousin to the other attack.
Right. I know that the Black students in Wellesley, and I'm not sure, it might be the high school. I wasn't sure, because after reading a little bit of the article, it was just so disheartening that they had an affinity group, but they have to stop calling that, because of a group of parents are in some type of group, and they're kind of going around now and seeing schools that have affinity groups and stuff, and they're pushing back and suing, and this is discriminatory, and it makes me just always laugh, because it's like, when you was putting it on us, no one thought of it as discriminatory. And it's like, what is it? I always say the Bible talks about where two or three are gathered and how Jesus is in the midst. I always say where two or three of us are gathered, like white people, they get in the midst. Like, What is it about us being together that just, it's almost like it is, like Jackie mentioned, like back with the slaves, like how loitering came about.
Slave code.
You can't mingle and be together. Break it up. Don't want us talking and unifying and coming together. Like, keep this division. And they can't do it. The school district had to buckle. And that was very disheartening.
And again, I look at it as an extension of this attack, which I think that it all folded together. So when Donald Trump was able to say that the election has been stolen, right? And now all of these repressive, over 400 bills that have been introduced are used to justify, well, we just need to make sure everything is integrity. Then it became down to, well, we need to make sure what our kids are learning. Does that have integrity? So it kind of began the attack on our culture through this fake attack about, let's make sure the elections are safe. Now it's like, let's make sure white children's minds are safe because they're being attacked by these Black people that are having them think about very horrible things. And I'll let Amina jump in, but I just remember I saw a quote that said, let me get this straight. These people who did these horrible things to Black children, a la Ruby Bridges, a la Emmett Till, who did these horrible things to Black children when they were younger, now that they're grandparents, they don't want their grandchildren to know that Mima and Papa were very horrible people. That sums it up for me.
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and it's a little insane to think about it like that. This stuff actually happened. We can't deny this, and that's why it's so important, the work that everyone is doing, because we can't let this thing die. We can't let this be buried. We know what happened, So, Amina, please share. Yeah, please go ahead, right, and share. You're right there. I was saying you're right there in the battlefield. Just give us the inside scoop. This is it. We got the inside scoop on the academia and Black history.
Well, sorry, I popped out because I froze a moment ago, but hopefully you can hear me okay. I've been having discussions about this in my classes. Oh, Jason, hey. I thank you, Jason, for being on with us. I had some discussions this past week with my students about this controversy. Some of them are from the states where this battle is really ramping up, and they shared with me some personal anecdotes about how it's hit home, it's hit their alma maters, it's hit their high schools, it's hit their junior high schools. And one of my white students shared that her mom is a middle school teacher who is a Black Lives Matter supporter and was disciplined by her school administrator for wearing a t-shirt. Another student shared that at a local school committee, the parents were approved to circulate a petition, and it had gone home to their parents. So this is real. This is really happening. And I shared with them that I've been feeling a little extra stress, hearing about this on the news or on the radio, because these are the very topics that I teach, that I've been teaching for the past 20 some years. I'm sure y'all feel it too. And what a sensation, to hear about this and to realize that you are right in the heart of it. W.E.B. Du Bois wrote in The Souls of Black Folk, how does it feel to be a problem? And we are a problem. So it's really an amazing time to bear witness to. I think that we are called, and we all share a common faith. We're called for such a time as this. Yeah. And I think about that so often. And I'm grateful to be present in this moment. And even though these are scary times, I'm grateful, to do what we all do. But this is definitely not a joke. I will share something that was very encouraging that happened in one of the class discussions this week. Another student who identifies as white, who's also Jewish, shared, his thoughts in solidarity. And I was really encouraged when he spoke up in class because, of course, the Holocaust is also being banned. Teaching about the Holocaust, teaching about indigenous history, teaching about, various groups that have been marginalized, right? Not only us. But that student shared with me that he doesn't feel too discouraged because we're in the information age. And he said that a lot of these legislators are not thinking about the fact that a lot of young people like himself are educating their own selves through social media, through different educational platforms. So when I heard him speak, I felt really excited, that the lid is off, so they can try, but it reminded me of the quote that said, they tried to bury us, but they didn't realize that we're seeds and the seeds have been planted. And so, I'm excited about what's going to grow, what's going to harvest. But I do think that folks need to be prepared. And I saw a post yesterday by Angela Rye, and she was actually calling upon Black parents in particular, but all parents, to do this work at home. And she said it's critical work, and that this is a critical time that we need to be educating our kids at home. And yes, she also said for folks to, for example, to write to their local school boards. This is the work that Harambe has been doing, talk to their local school districts to get this work approved and to get it implemented in the school systems. And she said that's important, but we can't only depend on that. We have to do the work at home. And we're in such an exciting time again, where we have a proliferation of books, children's books, and just so many resources out there. And some people are using social media in really wonderful ways to teach the history too. So again, the lid is off and it's exciting.
I love that. Sorry.
I'm sorry, because I just think, just while you were talking to me, it just made me think of, in regards to our ancestors. It's always something. Can't read, can't vote, can't teach Black history. There go that goalpost, always moving back.
Yes.
And they were forbidden to read, but they learned to read anyway because it was that important to them. And that's how I feel about this with this history. It is that important to us that it has to continue on by hook or crook. By hook or crook.
Yeah. I mean, even looking at, okay, so they're trying to hide Black history and voting. They would not be working this hard to try to bury both of those things if it wasn't so important. And we dare not let them know how important our history is and we not know it. So Amina, I really would love for you, we have time for you to share how you even got into Black history, how that became a passion of yours. We allowed my mom and aunt to do that last week. Please let the people know how you got into this field. You have to be called here. Like, this isn't just something you stumble upon. Who wants to be studying history, like in reality? So how? I know I'm being honest. We're having these honest conversations. You have to be really called to this place because it's a lot. And I want to say this, because you have to balance your emotions. The more we uncover about the diabolical things that happen, you can be upset. You can maybe see a person of a different culture and automatically want to do violence. I'm being honest. But how do you take in Black history, seeing all the things, the systemic things that happen, and are still able to teach it and keep your cool? I mean, that's That's why you have to be called here, because not everybody can handle all the information.
Well, thank you for the question. I definitely agree. It's a calling, and I don't know where to begin. But I mentioned moments ago that I did go to a predominantly white school that was very racist. And thank you, Mr. Brooks, in the chat. In that context, I started to feel racial trauma. You know, what we call now, we call it racial trauma. Back then, we didn't have the words for it. But I would come home from school, and I've talked about this so many times, but I would come home from school and I would just beg my parents, like, please take me out of that school. And, you know, them being traditional, like, immigrant parents, they were like, no, you have to have, you know, you have an opportunity for this education, and that's what we're sending you there for. But my parents exposed me to Black history during those times, to let me know that there were ancestors, you know, whose shoulders I was standing on. And I remember one moment in particular when my dad showed me some of Eyes on the Prize, which you'll probably remember. And I'll never forget the episode where they, you know, featured school desegregation, and watching the Little Rock Nine, and what they had to go through, but also how they stood tall in the face of all that hatred and how they resisted it. And I'll never forget in that moment, just making up my mind. I was probably 9 or 10 years old, but just making up my mind that, okay, this is what we're going to do. If they had that kind of strength, then I'm going to be okay. And so Black history has always been a source of healing and a source of empowerment for me. And I just took that with me. I took it right back into that same racist school, and would oftentimes challenge my history teacher, social studies teacher. I had a social studies teacher in 11th, 10th or 11th grade who was just very outwardly racist. He would still call African American people Negroes in class. He would call Japanese people the Japs. You know, he would use every racial epithet you could think of, and it lit a fire in me, I think, you know, because I always wanted to defend our people. And so I decided to go to college down south. I wanted to be where I thought was the Mecca, and I wanted to go to HBCU. They didn't give me enough financial aid. That's a whole nother episode. But I did get sort of close. But that's where I took African American history for the first time, and it just affirmed for me, you know, why I loved it. I saw myself represented in my professors and on the pages of the books. And when I found out that you could actually focus on a particular geographical area or population, that was all I needed to hear. So I chose to focus on African American history and the African diaspora. And then I was introduced to a mentor who literally let me know that this could be a career for me. And the rest is history. So I embarked on that. And to your other question, Stephanie, about how to balance this, there were many times when I wanted to give up, you know, especially when I was young and I first started out. I had some students who really questioned me and looked at me like, who are you? What do you know? You're about my same age. Or I had some white male students who questioned my authority. And I also was starting to realize that academia is a very difficult place. So I thought about leaving many times, but I actually met a minister um, who told me that this could be my ministry, and he let me know that my classroom is not only a classroom, that I can make it what I want. And that helped transform the experience for me. Learning about Bell Hooks, who recently passed, as you all know, transformed the experience for me, because she wrote about Teaching to Transgress, one of her famous books, and she wrote about bringing love into the classroom and being your whole self. And those things made it all come together and helped me also find ways to balance it out too. So that's my story. Thank you for asking.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. Like, so passionate, you know, and we also have committed to really keeping this going all year. So we know we'll have you back where you can give an in-depth, you know, maybe we can do a highlighted, you know, sharing out of something specific, you know, where
Thank
we're
you.
yeah, of course. I mean, we're making sure that people are getting Black history, right? So I'm gonna
Yeah.
pull up a comment from your cousin and my ministerial line brother, Jason. He mentioned something so important, and I'm gonna actually ask my mom to kind of talk about this, and Auntie Cookie, everybody really to jump in. He said that it's 2 weeks into Black History, and at his youngest school, no one's even mentioned anything or acknowledged anything about Black history. I know, like, how heartbreaking is that? But is anyone shocked or surprised? Of
No.
course not. You know, there's no shock or surprise. So, Mommy, can you please speak to the importance of us really delving into Black history at home, where we are not having to depend on the schoolhouse? This is not that time anymore where it used to be, where, you know, with Black teachers or people given that information. Let's just say it's not there at all. So please speak on that importance and what some parents or guardians or whoever can do to really incorporate this into their home living.
Sure, but what I will say that I think is kind of interesting, your cousin, my oldest niece, Tiffany, who will be 46 or 47, Cookie, when she was in the second grade, she attended the Unknown School in Brockton. The Unknown at that time had pretty much, aside from, I think, aside from the Payne School, the Unknown had the highest number of children of color in that school. And when I found out that there was nothing that I said to her, I said, "Oh, so what did they say about Black History Month?" And she said, "Oh, no, nothing. They're not talking about." I called the school and I wrote the principal. This is the old days of writing a letter, right? And said, with the number of children of color, like BIPOC wasn't a term yet. I think I said minority students. It is a disgrace and shameful that nothing about Black history is being honored or taught, especially during this month. And if you need, no, and I just kind of left it. I said, something is a shame. The principal called me and asked, did I have some resources that I could share with the school, because they indeed wanted to observe. And Tiffany recalls how she went to school the next day and there was one little Black boy. I don't know. So he's about her same age, wherever he is. She said, we walked around the whole school going from classroom to classroom. She had like a little museum, whatever stuff that probably me, my sister, my mom, whatever stuff we gave her for this emergency Black history show on the road, she was able to do that. And later on, a Black woman, I was at the hair shop, Nan, the Black salon, every little Black girl burnt once. That's part of your ritual. I was there in the hair shop and I do not know how. I think I was saying something to Nan. All I know is that a Black woman who I did not know was in the shop and she said, let me introduce myself to you. She was like an administrator at the school, let's say in charge of something at the school. And she remembers when my niece came in, and I just wanted to say, like right on, because I felt, and I remember thinking, then why did we have to bring the stuff? You were
Right.
there in the school, sister,
Right.
and you're telling me that you saw my niece come. But anyway, so let me just quickly, I know I have a problem with time. Let me just say, that we do have to do at home, but I'm gonna ask that we also put some of the onus back on our churches. Our churches were the first teachers in our communities. Our churches now, I always say the expression, unfortunately, focus a lot on building funds, but not on building up our community. Right. So we need to just, I'd rather, stained glass can be broken, right? No matter how fancy the window, but you build up a spirit that can't be broken. That's God's work to me. Okay. So I would say that if you attend a church, talk to your pastor about what can be done. This night's Bible study, this night's youth group, could one night a month, even could we talk about a history? I'll teach it. So don't be willing to be the change you want to see. And at your children's school, to your point, Amina, more Black people need to get involved and go into school committee. They need to.
Yeah.
They need to. They need to. It changes the dynamic. And also, you are a taxpayer. So I'm glad my sister said she heard that some parents in different cities and states have been pushing back against, oh, yes, you are going to teach our history. I'm a taxpayer. So I think that it starts at home, but we have to take those institutions that belong to us and make them accountable by doing something as well.
And and shout out to Stacy.
Yes.
Who's gonna be pushing up at her school committee.
Yes.
Listen, good.
Congratulations.
And also I do want to give a shout out to my coworker, Elsa. Elsa is of Cape Verdean descent, but she comes on our podcast and she's willing to try and be part of things because she's saying, I want to know about your experience, but also some things that I've experienced have been because of your experience.
Right.
That's awesome.
So I do want to give a shout out to Elsa.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
There's no separation. Stacy is one of my sisters. I'm wearing a singles group together. Love her. And she's no mess, doesn't take no for an answer. She's going to be an amazing addition to the school committee. Awesome. And I'm really thinking, it would be great for us to even have chats. My mind, I'm a creative, so my mind goes all over the place. For us to have these chats with school committee members from all over where we can empower and show.
We have the first Black one in Taunton, right. Derek George. And he kind of is in a lonely group, right? So
in a very lonely group. So we need to connect and get together. Zoom and all these different, avenues of technology allows us to get together without having to drive anywhere. We can still be safe and we can come together just for empowerment and just to support. We have to do that. So Stacy, we're going to be connecting with you just to chat, check in, make sure you're okay, because we have to stick together.
And connect her with Derek as well, who'd be happy to tell her about his journey.
I'll share her information with you, Mommy, and I think that'd be great. What I was about to say is Big Mama was saying is soul food. You could knock down the one hand or whatever she said, but with a mighty fist, you could strike a mighty blow. Whatever she said, it's true. You know what I mean? You can take down that one finger, but you have a fist. You cannot take down that fist. The fist will end up taking down you. So this is what we have to do. So thank you, Stacy. And Maria, she actually shared, she's been really lighting up the chat too, just about how she's, her brother went to a segregated school. And then, just her experiences. We have more similarities than differences. And there are certain things, she has a long chat, so I'm just going to remove it. But there are certain things that external forces, they want us to see, oh, you're not the same or you're better than them.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. We are all in this together. No matter where we were dropped off, right, on the way, no matter where our stop was, no matter what languages we speak, we are all in this together. Stacy said that she's in there, like swimwear. I'm adding that on, and she says she's the first too. So this is the reason for Harambe Learning Culture Center, where we connect everybody together, where we are making sure that everybody is all linked in. We are a family of connectors and making sure that people are bridging that together. So Stacy, we will be in contact. Okay, sister, we will definitely do that. So what are some other things, Auntie, I'll shoot this over to you. What are some other things that people can do? So let's say someone doesn't go to church, right? Church is for everybody. That's just the belief, you know what I mean? Yeah. But we notice that there are a lot of people who do not go to church. So what would people be able to do in their home? I like that, Amina. I like you said that the lid is off, especially with technology. Google makes it so that people can't really lie anymore, right? So we have access to all that. So, Auntie, what are some things that people can do in their homes to really ramp up their knowledge of Black history?
It is with the Google. I tell my students all the time that there is like no excuse, because you can put in anything from Black inventors, the first Black surgeon, hot surgeon male, the first hot surgeon female. Like, you can put just so many categories in, and it pops up. It comes up. I mean, even myself today, and again, there's always something to still learn. I was learning some things in regards to with the HBCUs myself. Like, there's things that but then you dig deep. You do that deep dive, and it's like, oh, most of the HBCUs are in Alabama, followed by North Carolina, and then Georgia. Cheney was the first HBCU. And I'm like, oh, like stuff that you're finding out. So it is being able to Google, being able to get, we order everything else off of Amazon, able to order some books. And again, depending on your skill level in regards to, where you at with reading. The basic, if you have to, the first grade level, just something so that you can just get and gain that knowledge. Because in addition to erasing our history, trying to, again, as always, it's so funny how these spirits go from generation to generation.
Right.
And we get in and always we talk about breaking that generational curse, and we're always looking in the financial. But it's like this spirit of keeping a people down from generation to generation, that is a generational curse. But it's a curse that's gladly being passed down. There's a difference. We don't want that financial burden. The curses that's passing down to us, we don't want that. This curse, it seems like people is okay with picking it up from grandpappy 100 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's spiritual warfare.
It is.
This is spiritual warfare, and we cannot allow our history to be erased. So whatever piece of knowledge you can get, and people might be like, well, why? Why do I have to know that? Because history could have a way of repeating itself. We're going after voting rights, 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment can be next. And believe me, there's been discussions from previous senators about rolling those type of things back.
Yeah.
So we again, you don't know where you're going if you do not know where you have been.
Absolutely. And
if
there's
I could add,
oh yeah, I was just going to say really quick, they want us to be uneducated. They want us to remain ignorant. That's the gimmick, right? So now, why do we see all this stuff coming against us? Because it's like, oh, okay, they're opening books. There was a saying, if you don't want a Black person to read something or know something, you put it in a book. That time is done because we're reading, we're learning. So we've taken even the lid off of that, where we are not ignorant anymore. We're not in the dark. There's a great awakening happening. So we might as well just jump on board. So we're not stumbling around. The Bible says, my people perish. Why? For lack of knowledge. If you don't know, then you're going to fall into the same trap. So, Amina, please feel free to share.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to add on to what Cookie said. Because, you're right. Not everyone has the reading spirit or the passion to read, but guess what? There's YouTube University, there's Netflix. I use YouTube so often with my students because so many of our African diaspora youth are visual learners, and there are some amazing short videos. For example, there's a series called Black History Crash Course, and they have very quick videos, 10, 11 minutes on various subjects. The Root has 2-minute videos. And then this month, there are so many things, more than I've ever seen in my whole life. I don't know if y'all feel this, but there's so many things on Netflix, on Amazon Prime. And Netflix has put videos for free on YouTube this month. So folks should look up things. For example, today I noticed that Will Smith has a series called Amend, which is about those same amendments that Gwen was just talking about, and more. So there are audiobooks. I mean, if you can't afford one of the apps, you can go to the library and get free audiobooks to be read to. If you're a commuter, for example, there's podcasts. There's just so many things. A really good podcast is Code Switch. But there are a number of historians that have podcasts out there. And like Gwen said, there's no excuse, because right now there's something for everyone. So I would just add on those specifics.
And if we think of the concept of each one, teach one, right? We
Yes,
have to remember
yes.
there is a picture that I used to have on my bulletin board when I was at Massasoit, and it just kind of got lost in thing, but I found I can print it again. But this is a true picture of a young slave girl teaching an older slave woman to read. Have you seen it, Amina?
Yes.
I cried tears when I first saw it, and so I keep it. So I believe that it's incumbent in the home. If you are the only, or if you are the first, it's not for you, it's for those other ones coming behind you. So read too. And just something kind of small, but because we're so passionate about it, I went to visit Greg Fernandes' school, his conservatory, and he had these pictures of Black figures, but they can cartoon. So I asked him, he said, sure, Jackie, take some. So I have some for my nieces, my nephews, my grandchildren. They're going to color, but they'll learn about John Lewis. You see what I'm saying? So in your home, like you said, deal small. With little ones, there's a way that you can talk about Black history, and then it's older and so forth. So we were proud of our great nieces. They were part of, we put a little thing together for the Birmingham letter. They were readers for that. And that would not have been something they got through the high school, right?
Yeah.
They didn't learn about that through the high school. So do what you can, where you can, when you can, with what you can.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I just shared 2 links. I shared the Black History Crash Course, just on YouTube. I mean, all the excuses are taken away. Okay. Oh, I'm not a reader. Well, are you a looker? Like, you know what I mean? Can you watch a video? Yes. Cool. Are you a listener? You know what I mean? Podcast. You don't have to be watching anything. You could be listening. It is really, the onus is back on us now to really get our own history. And then I also posted, my mom had asked me to post this on Harambe's page earlier this week. It's the masterclass that they are offering for free. So those links are available in there. Please take advantage of them. They're free. Like, you don't have to pay for anything. So it's right there. But this is our history and we need to know it. Auntie, you were going to say something?
Oh, no. Just all that Jackie was saying. I was just going to sum it up, that you get in where you fit in.
Get in where you fit
Reader,
in.
looker, get in where you fit in.
You like coloring pages, you like crossword puzzles, Sudoku, whatever you want, there it's available and it's there. The resources are there. And reaching out to places and people, reach out to everybody here, where it's like you want to know more, have that one-to-one, have that personal chat, or come on these videos and hear about what's going on. It's just open and available to us, and it's so much out there, and there's something for everybody. There's men, women, kids teaching, everybody's there and it's available. So it's just time to really grab it. We are kind of winding down a little bit. We have probably about 15, maybe about 10 minutes left just before we're winding down. I'm just saying thank you, of course, to my mom and aunt, but thank you to Amina. Everyone's been saying in the chat that your work is so important.
Thank you.
And it really is. So we want you to feel supported and celebrated. And thank you for being in the battlefield, for taking the blows, because you're front facing, for taking the blows and having to deal with racism from your colleagues, from students, but staying committed to the course. So much, much, much appreciation to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I did just want to say that we are going to have a program next Friday. So for anyone listening, we're going to do a tribute to the spoken word through Black poetry in its forms. So if you are someone that does, and if you're an artist, if you do spoken word, if you would like to read a historical poem, you can do that as well. So just however way, Stephanie will have the information posted on our Facebook, but through chat and just through your networks, make sure. And Stephanie, maybe post the email address in case somebody wants to send a name or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called the Harambe Soul Cafe. Ow, ow. So we'll be there and it'll be awesome. I'm going to drop our just our Facebook page in the chat. Please like our page. We have things going on. We have different events going on. And we really want to connect you to whatever resources for Black History that you're looking for. So we do have the event coming up. It'll be next Friday, and we'll have it available. It'll be virtual so that everybody can see it. And we'll just have that available for everybody. But if, yeah, like my mom was saying, if you do spoken word and things like that, please, please, please reach out. I'm going to drop our email address in there too. It's also on our Facebook page. Once you like that up, you can see it on there. We're just about connecting and really making sure that everybody is all together. We can't get through this trial, this mountain, this challenge, unless we are lock arm and lockstep with each other. So I want to give everybody a chance to just do your closing words. Just about what we talked about. We went over, and more to come on Lift Every Voice and saying that we're just going to break it down and really get into what everything means to really take that in. And then we heard about the state of Black history in academia, some of the struggles going through, but we know that we are here for a purpose. I mean, we have to keep pushing and going. So, Amina, please give, closing comments, last statements, and then we'll just pass it right around.
Thank you. Thank you again, everyone. And thank you to those who tuned in. I wanted to share another resource before we go on Instagram, at Dr. Thema, Thema. If you can put that in the chat, Stephanie. Dr. Thema is an amazing, amazing history maker herself. I think the first Black president of the American Psychological Association. But her page is a phenomenal resource for healing and mental health and wellness. And she has a podcast called The Homecoming. So check that out, everyone, to balance out the heaviness of everything that we hold. And then I want to offer you a quote that I told my students this week. Asada Shakur, it is our duty to fight, and it is our duty to win. So we will win. So I just want to encourage everyone to stay in the fight. And thank you again. I look forward to coming back another time.
I just wanted to encourage everyone as well, and especially about staying in the fight. And I look at it as good trouble that Congressman Lewis talked about. That this is good trouble. Oh my goodness, what's that quote that they talk about almost like about women, like kind of not never getting nowhere, being silent or being like good. And I feel that, it can definitely apply to us, that again, with the good trouble, that we can push this work forward. Like, we owe it to our ancestors to do it. We are picking up the baton to pass it on to the next generation. Again, this is our duty. It is our responsibility. It is part of our purpose. There are other things that we're doing that are our purpose, but this is a part of our purpose. And we have to be willing to freely, those of us that have the knowledge, to freely give it. And those that are seeking the knowledge have to have their hands, hearts, and mind open to receive.
Hold on, mommy. You're muted.
I said, I will stop by saying, Wusa, it should not be this exhausting being Black in this country. We have given too much. We have earned too much. We have deserved more than what we have gotten. We have gotten too little. And I think that quote you were referring to, Gwen, said that well-behaved women rarely make history, right? I think that we are past the time of being polite. We see that Emmett Till, he was polite. His mother had told him, this is how you act. If white people are going to come near you, you get ready to bow, you get ready to scrape. And he still ends up being horrifically brutalized, right? I think that the important thing for us to know is that we cannot expect anyone to care about our history more than we do, right? In fact, it's the opposite. There is a reason why we were not allowed to be able to read. It was illegal. You could be hung, and the person that helped you would suffer a penalty as well, often death, too, as an example. So let us continue to educate ourselves, but not just for ourselves, so that we can educate others. And Black history is American history, which is why I'm so happy to have a group that we will continue to push to make it that the Black history is woven straight into the lesson, that not people take by an elective, they take it if they want to graduate. Okay, thank you. Thank you for this, daughter.
Yes, of course. My pleasure. I mean, we all got to work together and the generations coming together. So this is awesome, and I really want us to end just by saying Harambe. That means pulling together. That means us using our synergy to come together and do this thing. So thank you for everyone who tuned in. We'll be back next week with the Harambe Soul Cafe. We'll be posting about that. So if you're interested, you want us to snap, you want to wear your nice glasses and a beret, you let us know and we'll hook you up. Okay. So Absolutely. We're all just going to end by saying Harambe. Thank you. Thank you. Be blessed. Have an amazing rest of your Black History Month and an amazing weekend. Thank you to everyone who shared. We feel your passion. We love you. You're amazing, beautiful Black queens. So on 1, 2, 3, we'll say Harambe. 1, 2, 3.
Harambe.